development as a master was after he moved to California.
Okay, I think this is ready to go. Let me take the volume down on this thing. I was using the. Hang on a second. I was using the Way of the Warrior, Dan and Asano. I should start this officially, shouldn't I? Okay. Hello, everyone. In the I Love Jeet Kune world, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel, and we're here with another I Love Jeet Kune broadcast. This is broadcast number 8. We've titled this one the one about the Jun Fan martial art system and much, much more. Like I was saying, because I kind of caught myself off guard. I was watching the Way of the Warrior segment on Sifu Dan and Asano and the Jeet Kune segment. And truth be told, if we're sticking to the idea that we have a specific start and time for each of these broadcasts, then I am severely late because and there are a few people who will verify this. I actually did a test of the screen sharing application before I came online, and it seemed to work fine. And then, as fate would have it, when I came online to start this broadcast many minutes ago, the Facebook couldn't find the camera on my laptop. So I apologize to everybody for this late start. But if you think about it, I'm originally from the islands. I live in Miami, Florida, and I spent a lot of time in Filipino martial arts. So then if anybody's going to be screwing up time, it could be somebody who various portions of his life is on island time, Cuban time, or even Filipino time, because all those times exist, right? Okay, that's my attempt at humor. So today what I want to talk to you about is the what we call the Jun Fan martial arts system. My Jeet Kune senior, a guy named Blaze Loon, Blaze did an article on this thing back in, let's see if I have it here, September of 1987 in That Belt magazine. And Blaze titled it the Jun Fan, Bruce Lee's personal fighting system, the Jun Fan martial arts. So one of the reasons why I thought about talking about this today is, oh wait, let me do the Carlos thing. So guys, when you come on and onto the broadcast, if you would please type in where what does he need me to do? Type in where you're coming in from, and what does he say? Pound the likes and the hearts and what have you, just so I don't feel like I'm talking into an empty space. And I know that that somebody's paying attention. All right, so to get back to the Jun Fan martial arts system. So I had a recent question asked of me about Jun Fan and if as a system it lacked anything. So that's what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today. So let's look at it this way, because we all know about the 3 certificates that Bruce Lee awarded to different students at different times in his life, right? There was the Jun Fan Kung Fu Institute certificate, there was the Tao of Kung Fu, and then there was the Jeet Kune certificate, right? So if you've ever been with Sifu and Asano, then you'll know he says that the Jun Fan system can be formulated or regulated or systematized, right? Whereas Jeet Kune can't. So one of the things that we do is we look at Jun Fan as a forerunner to Jeet Kune, a carrier system, so to speak, for Jeet Kune. So we start that by looking at that training concept known as the 4 ranges of combat, which are broken down into kicking, punching, trapping, and grappling. One of the things that I've always wondered about is if there was a specific reason behind ordering those 4 ranges in that specific sequence: kicking, then punching, then trapping, then grappling. So let me throw that out to you guys who are here as a question. Does anybody have an opinion? Because I think I can see the comments and talk to you guys simultaneously. Does anybody have an opinion on why that might be the specific the specific order in which these things were done? Kicking, punching, trapping, grappling, right? So I'll give you like a couple of seconds. I'll take a sip of my new V8 Energy pomegranate thing. I hope that's not considered an ad, which my student Sean gave to me yesterday. It works pretty well. It does seem to pump you up a little bit. So, okay, so Sifu Nick says, furthest out to closest in makes cognitive sense. Oh man, the big words. Geez, I gotta go look up what cognitive means. And then Kenny Malden says pretty much the same thing. Longest range to closest range. Okay, all right, cool. Right, so that is actually very similar to the idea that I have behind it. But I'm gonna talk to you about a little bit more. So some of you may have heard me break it down this way before. Exactly, Nick, right? Many arts deal with the long range and most are familiar. So if you ask most people in the street, what's a kick? They know it involves the use of the leg. If you ask them what's a punch, they know that it involves the use of the arm. Now you ask them what's trapping, and not as many people might have an idea. And then if you ask them what's grappling, again, not as many people might have an idea, although I suspect that with the immense popularity of the UFC and MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a lot of people would be familiar with the term trapping. Okay, so now Jack says longest to closest, but the 2 most combative are trapping and grappling. Jack, I'll pick a fight with you about the fact that the 2 most combative. If you mean by combative that they're, because like my senior Paul Vunat broke it down this way. In the trapping range, there are, I think it was like 14, let's say, natural weapons available to you, right? Starting from the top of the head and going all the way down to the feet. If we count them, we can have like 14 weapons. So if that's what you're saying, that there are more tools available to you in trapping, then yeah, I'll agree with you that does make it more combative. But just like it says in this, if you guys have seen the, like I was talking about at the beginning of the broadcast, the Inosano segment on Way of the Warrior, there's a depiction, I mean, not a depiction, they're showing, it's Cass Magda and Chris Kent, and they're doing just regular boxing drills on the Focus Smith. But what the narrator says is that the students are taught to fight ferociously. So I think that you can be extremely combative in kicking, you can be extremely combative in punching, so then that means you can be extremely combative in kickboxing, and then also in your trapping and your grappling. So I don't necessarily think that any of the 4 skills or the 4 ranges is necessarily more combative than the other just by itself, if you get what I'm saying. But definitely kicking and punching are more familiar. So that's always a good place to start. Now, the other thing about it is that kicking and punching do not require bridge contact, right? Because they're ballistic, right? I mean, you're hitting them, they're trying to hit you, and it's not so much that you are touching hands with each other. So since trapping and grappling require what I call the control over your opponent's center of gravity, then a good way to develop that is to start by developing what I call impeccable control over your own center of gravity. And you do that by being dynamic in your kicking and punching, by learning how to fight ferociously. Plus, it's always good for the cardiovascular system to be using the 4 limbs of the body, right? Because that'll make the heart pump. So that's why I think for a lot of people, the base foundation is in the kicking and punching, or the striking arts, if we call it that way. And then as we become more coordinated and more controlled over ourselves, then we can move on to the trapping and grappling, right? So in the Jun Fan system, then, right, the kicking was influenced, obviously, because sometimes there's a discussion about that. Who, you know, you'll hear that Chuck Norris taught Bruce Lee how to kick, or Jun Rhee taught Bruce Lee how to kick. I'm not sure who else there is, right? Okay, I got you, Kenny, right? So, but it's obvious that Bruce Lee came to the U.S. with kicking ability. I don't doubt that that he spent time working on stuff with people and was probably influenced by a lot of people. But it's obvious that his kicking method went past the Wing Chun that he spent time in. And Sifu Dan has been noted as saying that that he had spent time in a system called Tam Toi, right, which is a kicking method. And so at the beginning of the both in Enter the Dragon, in the scene in his room before Bob Wall shows up, and then also in before he knocks the crap out of the Italian guy in Way of the Dragon, you'll see him do some of that fancy spinning kick or crescent kick, slapping, you know, where the foot slaps the hand and what have you, right? So Bruce Lee's kicking skill obviously was something that could be done at long range and middle range, and then also at close quarter. Same thing with the punching. Obviously, boxing was a huge influence on him, right? Boxe Française, we know, was an influence to a certain degree, as was Muay Thai. I've said before, if you want to see a good example of a Muay Thai round kick, take a look at Way of the Dragon, that the what I call the power generation sequence, right, where he ends up kicking the guy in with the side kick. But look at what he does on the arm shield before with the round kick. Then also examine the round kick to the head in Enter the Dragon against Bob Wall, and take a look at that form also, and you'll see that it's pretty good Muay Thai form, right? Later today, if I get to it, I'm gonna post a photograph that some of you guys may never have seen before, but everybody has seen another kick to the head sequence from Enter the Dragon. But I'll post a little behind the scenes photograph on that one for you. Right. So, okay. So now the trapping, everybody understands, everybody realizes was heavily influenced by the Wing Chun. But now I want to ask you something, because when I was doing my prep work for this, I came across something. I got to show you something funny, right? I have multiple copies of all of the Jeet Kune books, but this one in particular. Let me show you something. Whoops, there you go. Right. So this is the copy that I use. This is not my original copy. My original copy is autographed right here. Where do I put this? Right here by Sifu Dan. This is the one that I go to because it's all busted and what have you. So this is one I go to when I want to look stuff up. So I think it's on, now I won't be able to find it, of course. I think it's page, is it 99? Oh man, now I'm not going to be able to find it. I shouldn't have spoken so quickly. But it is where Sifu Dan writes that that Sijo Bruce took the Lap Sao and the Pak Sao and the Bong Sao And here's what his words are. And he combined them and came up with trapping hands, right? So let's put this in the comment section also. Do you guys think that what we do in trapping is purely Wing Chun, derived from Wing Chun, or is it that Wing Chun's reputation for trapping is something that came about after Bruce Lee's exposition of Wing Chun skills in things in his movies, for example, right? Does that make sense, right? I'm wondering if, let's say, for example, we do, Pak Sao Lap Sao Gua Choi, right? Is that pure Wing Chun, or is that Bruce Lee's application of Wing Chun that then became well known, and then Wing Chun started to add it in? Give me a second. Let me see if I can find exactly where the note is, because I was supposed to put the page on it. Man, I hate when this happens, because then I look like a complete nincompoop. But hold on. Okay, so that one's 149. So then it was, give me a second. This is embarrassing, but what's a little embarrassment every once in a while? Okay, I think, nope, that's not it. Yeah, okay, it's 99, not 49. It's page 99. I knew there was a 9 in it, right? So here's the deal. Here's what he says. Incorporating Chi Sao and Pak Sao with Bong Sao and Lap Sao, tempered, of course, by his extensive knowledge of body mechanics and motion, Bruce came up with trapping hands. Again, the trapping is definitely Wing Chun, but it's modified. Bruce used to say, I don't care where it comes from. If it is usable, it belongs to no one. It's yours. That was Bruce. He'd see something he liked and then take it one step further. Freddie, this is Dan Inosanto's Jeet Kune, Art and Philosophy of Bruce Lee book. It's my Jeet Kune Bible. I'm kidding. All right. Okay. So yeah. So what do you think? Kurt says everything he did was his own interpretation of what he learned. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I wish I knew the answer to this, but this is definitely something that we should take a look into. Right. Okay. So there's the trap and then the grappling. So what happened was I got another question. Did I say this before? I got a question about what was limiting or what was lacking in the Jun Fan martial arts. And Sifu Dan, again, says this from time to time, that when it came to the grappling in the old days, that it was not contested, right? So you know how in the grappling world today, everybody talks about a resisting opponent. And so in the old days, if you did, if you trapped to an arm lock and a takedown or whatever, and you wanted, to branch up, lock or branch down or what have you, it wasn't contested. So I guess that's how a lot of people then, since in the combat submission wrestling and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the grappling is contested. That's what makes it attractive to people, right? So the contention is that then if anything's lacking in the Jun Fan system, then it would be the grappling. But see, here's where I things get fuzzy, so to speak, kind of like my camera output, right? My video output on this laptop. I don't know of anybody who has stayed old school when it comes to their grappling. I think all of us who in Jeet Kune Do who are in search of continuous development and evolution, nobody does things exactly the old school way. In other words, nobody, before the smaller bag glove, I mean, not bag glove, finger glove, right? We did a lot of our stuff in either the Enter the Dragon gloves or in the, or with the boxing glove. I mean, I can remember trying to do trap in hands with a 14-ounce boxing glove because at that time there wasn't much else available to you. But now everybody has finger gloves that make the trapping easier to do, and then combine it into the grappling. So because you can grab with those gloves. So I don't know of anybody who is doing things exactly identical to the old way, because then that would be violation of the theory of constant evolution, right? Constant evolution in your training and constant evolution in your thinking about Jeet Kune Do, right? So okay, all right, Kenny, I got you again. All right, so okay, let's move on to let's see here. Okay, let me see if I can pull up that thing that I was telling you guys about, so you can hear what Sifu Dan was. Yeah, well, see, Kenny. Okay, so Kenny just asked me a question about Larry Hartzell's JKD grappling, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, Kenny, because Larry Hartzell, obviously the premier grappler of Jeet Kune Do, and Larry did spend time with all of the other people who came along and influenced us in the Jeet Kune Do training. So, for example, Yuri Nakamura and Japanese shoot wrestling. So it's fair to say that Larry started everybody out. You know what? Okay. So here's what you can do. I don't have it with me. It's over on the other side of the room. But if you take a look at Larry Hartzell and Tim Tackett, because actually Tim Tackett was a co-writer of that book, Larry Hartzell's Enter into Trap into Grappling, you will see an example of there is standing grappling, which was what actually I was going to start talking to you about, which is the idea of the opponent is down and you are still relatively up, as opposed to both of you being down on the ground, and now we're involved in more of a ground fighting scenario. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example, is a ground fighting thing because both people are down on the ground. Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, let's say, if you throw your opponent and then you have him in an arm lock or a head in an arm lock or something where you are kneeling and he's down, then that's what I refer to as standing grappling. And so if you look in the Enter into Trap into Grappling Jeet Kune Do book, you'll see a lot of examples of standing grappling. You will see the beginnings of the ground fighting, especially in volume 2. But unfortunately, Sifu Larry wasn't around long enough for to be part of what has developed through, I would say, primarily through the shoot wrestling and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So Jack says that if Cedro Bruce had lived longer, he would have explored the grappling component. Oh, for sure. There's absolutely no doubt, Jack, in anybody's mind that he would have gotten together with, especially with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu group, the Gracies and the Machados and what have you. I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware, but UFC 1 debuted in 1993. I think I have that correct. Give me a second. UFC 1 debuted in 1993, but people like Cass Magda and definitely Eric Paulson, they were in the not the basement, because I don't think they have basements in California. They were in the garage with the Gracies several years before that. All right. I mean, maybe in some instances, maybe as many as 10 years before the UFC debuted. So there were JKD people in the right at the beginning of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's, not even exposition to the public, because a lot of it was still being done relatively on a private basis. But JKD people were there at the start of the BJJ phenomenon, right? But then nobody in JKD went into the UFC and made a name for themselves as a JKD practitioner. So even though there are a lot of JKD people involved in grappling, they are sometimes known better for their grappling prowess than being known as Jeet Kune guys. Right. Okay. So that was the thing. Now, anybody who wants, I actually have a Word document. I'll see if there's a way to put it up on the I Love Jeet Kune page, so that you guys can read Blaise Lung's article about the Junfan system. It's really insightful, and it's actually one of my favorite articles from back in the day, right? So then the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was let's call it Bruce Lee's self-development system, right? So everybody has seen and has read the definite chief aim, right? Now, for those of you, there's like 20 people online with me now. So how many, by show of hands or however it is that you do it, right? Can you guys, how many people have seen that Bruce Lee's copy of his definite chief aim? I'll give you a couple of seconds to chime in or pipe in or say, is there a raise your hand function on Facebook? All right, so do you guys get my question? All right, how many of you have seen Bruce Lee's My Definite Chief Aim? And then I have another question for you. Okay, Kenny has. Who else? Okay, so I guess just Kenny's seen it, right? Okay, then I'll be sure to put that up on the. I'll be sure to put. Okay, seen it and read it. Tim, of course, Tim, because I forced you to see it. All right. Freddie Harrison says no. All right. So if it's possible, I'll put this stuff up on the Facebook page. If it's not possible, why don't you guys make a note of my email address. Send me an email at, let's see, which one should I use? Send me an email at sifudwpersonal@gmail. That's SIFUDW, and then the word personal @gmail. And then I can shoot you a hard copy of all this stuff. I can send you the Bruce Lee's copy of Definite Chief Aim, and then I can also send you Blaise Lung's Junfan martial art system. Right? Okay. So let me see if I can. I didn't pull it up before we started, but let me see if I can pull it up right now. And for those of you who have not read it, then I'll try to remedy that for you. Let's see, where are we? Stationary. Okay. All right. So here's what it says, right? My definite chief aim. I, Bruce Lee, will be the first highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. In return, I will give the most exciting performances and render the best of quality in the capacity of an actor. Starting in 1970, I will achieve world fame, and from then onward till the end of 1980, I will have in my possession $10 million. I will live the way I please and achieve inner harmony and happiness, right? And from people who, I've heard people say that this is a perfect rendition of the way that the definite chief aim should be written, in terms of stating clearly what your goal is, but also, even more importantly than stating what your goal is, stating what you will do, what you will first do in return for that. So if you notice, Bruce Lee definitely states what he wants to be, which is the first highest paid Oriental superstar in the United States. So that's very definite. Then he says, in return, I will give the most exciting performances. And that's a crucial element, you know, because there are a lot of people out there who want to get a lot of stuff, but they're not willing, or they're not too clear on what it is they will do in order to get that lot of stuff, but they do know what it is that they want to get, right? And then he states an actual number for the amount of money and what have you, right? Okay, so Freddie Harrison says it's part of oh, okay, all right. Somebody says I can write. Hey, I never tried that. I can write in the comments also. All right, so here we go. Give me a second. I should learn to spell. I should learn to type. Lord, please don't let me hit finish instead of hit enter. Okay, so I think everybody should see that email, right? Okay, so here's my question for you now. All right, so now I've read it. So those of you who hadn't heard it before, now you've heard it, right? Here's my question. How many of you have your own version of my definite chief aim? So now I'll give you 10 seconds. I'll take a sip of my V8 again, which is almost empty. And then I want to know how many people have their own version. Freddie says, I've read that. It's part of the secret. All right, hang on a second, Freddie. I'm going to school you a little bit on that. Okay, so nobody's telling me that, nobody says that they have their own. Okay, so I'm going to show you something. All right, actually, mine is, I don't know if you won't be able to see this stuff, right? But my copy. So these are index cards that I carry around with me, that I take a look at every day. And they include, I'll show you something. Okay. All right. We'll get to a second, right? They include my definite chief aim, but then it's all, one of them is also Napoleon Hill's 17 Principles of Personal Development. So let me show you something. So Freddie, this is for you, right? You're probably a lot younger than I am, and so your reference would be The Secret. My reference is this. So let's see if we got this. Okay. So from the best-selling author of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's Keys to Success, the 17 Principles of Personal Achievement. So a lot of people know about Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. I think that is a perennial bestseller with probably zero advertising, right? It's a classic. Everybody knows it. What a lot of people are not aware of is that TGR was born out of the 17 principles or the keys to success. So this is the particular version that I have. If you go on Amazon, there's probably like 6 different versions of this. And then I think some people have done other things, like somebody maybe has like only 16 principles or whatever. Anyhow, my point is that Bruce Lee was someone who was studying that stuff. So I have here, this is my version of the 17 principles of personal development. So this is something that you can carry with you. You can pull it out every day, take a look at it. Then the lesser known teaching of Napoleon Hill's is a thing called the self-confidence formula. So everybody has seen the definite chief aim note, but I'm not sure that as many people have seen the self-confidence formula. So I'll put that up also for you when we get done. But here is my copy, and this is something that, now I'm going to admit something to you, but don't tell anybody I told you this. Napoleon Hill advises that you learn this thing by heart. Well, it's got a few more words than I can handle by heart, right? I'm pretty close to it, but I carry it with me so that I can read it every day, right? Now, the last thing I'll show you, right, but I'll just show it to you quickly, all right, is a thing called, and it's backwards, right, My Clear Goals. So in his version of Definite Chief Aim, Bruce Lee talked about what his major goal was. In other training systems that I've done, they say that you should state clearly what your goals are in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas. So those areas are personal, health, business, financial, and then spiritual goals, right? If you guys are interested in this type of training, email me, make a comment or something, and I can do on one of the broadcasts, I can do a little bit of training on how to arrive at these things. It's pretty cool. It really forces you to go deep inside your mind and answer some tough questions. And you know, one of the reasons why I think that these things are important is because we are followers and admirers of one of the 20th century's greatest human beings. And the more that we study about him, the more we realize that he was not just a spectacular physical specimen. He was also a spectacular mental and maybe even, let's call it, psychological specimen, right? And so I think that if we're gonna really follow the Bruce Lee example, then we got to be willing to do the things that we can be sure he did, such as drill deeply and honestly into your own mind, right? So that's the training on. Oh, and I want to explain it to you. The Definite Chief Aim, Freddie, that comes out of the 17 principles, it is actually principle number 1. Right, where did I put this? Principle number 1, you see there, is develop definiteness of purpose. Right, so it's otherwise known as Definite Chief Aim, and that's the thing that that Cedro Bruce came up with. All right, so we're getting close to finishing this up, and I just want to make sure that there was something here. There were two things that two questions that came down the pike for me in the past couple of days. One of them was about Bruce Lee's strength, and the other one was about his Tai Chi. Now, I think Yes, I have posted them on Facebook, but I didn't post them on the I Love Jeet Kune page. They are over on my my school page. So if you go to if you search on Facebook for Unified Martial Art Academy, right, then you'll find those there. There's some Quora questions that I answered, and they've been pretty well received over the past few days. One of them, I think, it's been viewed, the one about Bruce Lee's strength, just to give you guys an idea, right? I mean, we know that we are Bruce Lee fans, and some of us might even qualify to be Bruce Lee fanatics. But this question that I answered about Bruce Lee's strength, it's been viewed over 30,000 times, all right? Which I think is kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, I had no idea that there were that many people out there besides us, deeply interested in Bruce Lee and his training methods and the things that he did to get to the level that he did, right? Anyhow, so that's it for today, because I know you guys got other things to do. So I want to thank everybody for joining in with me today. Next week, Wednesday, we'll be on again. As I promise you every week, I'm gonna keep working on becoming more technically proficient with all this stuff. And if I get to the point where everything that I want to screen share with you, I can load it up and do like a PowerPoint or something, then I promise you I will get to that level of ability. I guess I'm like a white belt when it comes to Facebook Live, all right? or I'm just at basics level. I'm not even phase 1 level in Facebook Live. But I thank you guys for taking some time out of your evening and hanging out with me. I will keep doing this stuff, and I promise I will get better and better at it. And any ideas or suggestions that you guys have for topics that we should discuss, feel free. You've got my email there now, and or put it in the comments. And I'll see you same time, same Facebook channel next week. You guys take care. Have a good one.